You've heard us do reporting on this group in the past.
It is called the Great North Innocence Project, and its mission is to free the wrongfully convicted. And they've been successful at that. To date, the team has freed 13 people. And together, those people have served 173 years behind bars for crimes they did not commit. And that includes Sherman Townsend. Here's part of his story.
I felt like I had a circuit board in my head and the circuits were about to. She said 20 years when I got sentenced. She said 20 years, you know, it's just it just kind of blew my mind. When the guy who really did this approached me in prison, he said, "Aren't you Sherman Townsend, and weren't you convicted of a burglary about 10 years ago over in southeast Minneapolis?" He said, "Well, I got something to tell you. If you can meet me in the yard after the workday, I'll sit down with you and tell all about it. It'll make you mad at first, but I think you'll be happy afterwards." He said he finally just got tired of the hassle and said, "Okay, yeah, that was him. It's him." The hardest thing about being there was not being guilty. That was probably the hardest thing. I was looking forward to rebuilding my life. So, reconnecting with my kids, one of my kids that wanted to reconnect with me. What I had to come when I got out of prison was I'm an ex-felon. So finding a job, finding somewhere to live, being broke, all those things were very difficult to overcome coming out of prison. Fortunately for me, I had my sister who was willing to lend a helping hand. So I first found work working at the Salvation Army. And then I found work here at Hallie Q. Brown. In June, I'll be 10 years. I do art, free time. Right now I'm doing portraits, practicing doing my portraits. And I have done some music in the past and would like to get back into some music. Till I die, I will still seek justice. I don't know how yet, but I will continue to seek a better end to this whole situation.
And now a huge step towards justice. Last week, it was announced that 18 years after his release from prison, Sherman Townsend was given a full pardon on the basis of innocence.
And we are honored to have Sherman join us in the CCO studio today, along with Jim Mayer, the legal director for the Great North Innocence Project. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to start with you, Jim. Sherman was the Innocence Project's actually first client. Tell us about his case and why you guys decided to take it on.
Well, Sherman was one of the first people, as you referenced, to write to us asking for help after the organization was up and running. And he had a very compelling story to tell. There was very little evidence to connect Sherman to this burglary that had occurred in the Dinkytown area back in 1997. And yet he'd been sentenced to a long sentence of 20 years in prison. The only real evidence against him came from an identification made by a neighbor who told police immediately after this break-in that he had seen a man run away from the scene of the crime. Police found Sherman in the area. They presented him to this neighbor, and the neighbor said 1,000% that's the guy that I saw. Many, many years later, we learned that that neighbor who was the witness who testified against Sherman was the actual perpetrator of the crime, and he had told that false story to police in order to divert attention away from himself.
Yeah. That sentence chills up my spine because, Sherman, you went through so much, 10 years of wrongful incarceration. You've been fighting for almost 30 years to clear your name. And then you get a unanimous vote giving you that pardon. That was the recent update. Yes. How did that feel to finally have your name cleared?
Feels wonderful. Didn't come soon enough. Just glad it did come. It came to that at least people in power could see the truth in it, so made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And now everyone knows that. I saw in the video that your journey through prison, of course, was challenging, but then when you got out, it was challenging. I mean, you referenced it, that hard to get a job, you have to reconnect with family and loved ones. What was the challenge for you when you did get out?
Yeah, just basically reconnecting, even with family, you know, and with the job situation and the living situation and all that. It was difficult to readjust to just about everything out here.
Right.
So, but as I said, I'm glad I'm here. So,
We're glad you're here.
Everything's
too.
better than
Yes.
being in there,
Yes.
even with the challenges that come with it. So, Jim, it's rare. Aaron was talking to me about this. It's rare to be pardoned based on innocence. How did this pardon come about? What did it take to clear Sherman's name?
It is rare for a pardon to be based on innocence, but there is a Minnesota statute that does provide that one of the bases for a pardon can be credible evidence that the defendant or the person who was convicted is actually innocent of the crime. Most of the time, the majority of the time, people seeking pardons are trying to show that they're accepting responsibility for what they did, that they've rehabilitated themselves, and so that historically people claiming actual innocence may have had a harder time getting a pardon because they're not accepting responsibility for the crime because it's something that they didn't do. But where the evidence of innocence is very strong, as it is in this case, it is appropriate to use executive clemency as sort of a safety valve for the criminal justice system when an innocent person has been convicted.
What did it mean to you and your organization to get this kind of pardon in the work that you do?
It was incredibly special to see Sherman get pardoned. It was kind of like coming full circle for us. As you mentioned earlier, he was the first of the 13 people that our organization has secured the release from prison for. And so it's coming around to a full exoneration, a full pardon, an apology from Governor Walz, and real recognition of the harm that's been done to Sherman, and the fact that we should all be glad to have Sherman out in our community now. So to have those words spoken by Governor Walz really meant a lot to all of us.
A big moment. And Sherman, I have to ask you, I think it's a natural question people are thinking to themselves at home. What kept you going when you were incarcerated? Of course, knowing that you were actually innocent. How did you find that strength to keep going?
God, just asked God to take me through it, and He did. I asked God to not let me die, not let my mother die while I'm in prison, and He did.
And you're here today. What are you
Yes.
looking forward to now that your name is finally cleared?
Just living the rest of my life out in honesty and out here doing, giving out love and accepting love rather than causing misery to anybody, you know.
As you weathered that, what advice would you give someone who's in your same position, in jail right now, or convicted into prison right now, who knows they're innocent? What advice would you give them to find some strength and power through that?
Keep trying. Keep trying. Don't quit, because you'll feel like it a few times, but keep trying, and hopefully you'll have an ending like mine. So.
Well, it is such an incredible story, and we appreciate you sharing it. Jim, how can people learn more about your organization, support you? You're actively working, and you're facing some budgetary issues.
That's
challenges.
True. They can get information about our organization by going to greatnorthinnocenceproject.org, greatnorthinnocenceproject.org. There's a chance to get on our list for volunteers, for getting newsletters with important, updates on the work that we're doing, the clients we're representing, and also the ability to donate. As you mentioned, we did lose some federal grant funding, like a lot of other organizations, so we're pretty aggressively trying to make sure we can stay funded and keep helping people like Sherman.
Yeah, this is ongoing work in our community. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thank you.
you sharing your story.